Elliotte Friedman joins us now for 3 of 31. Brought to you by the next generation GMC Sierra Denali with the world's first available 6-function multi-pro tailgate. Frege, welcome back to the show. I wasn't actually ripping. I was ripping the ad where Merrick does the ripping because we all look better in podcast form.
Well, I have to say, Tim, I was late getting to makeup just now, so it may actually be true.
Right. I don't know. You look like you're in makeup all the time, brother.
You and me both.
By the way, Frege, I think Kevin BX is developing a bit of an ego.
You know, I got to tell you, we are so lucky that he only wants to do this part-time for now, because I'm looking at Colby and Jeff and myself last night, and I'm listening to that great speech he did, and I'm thinking if he does this full-time, one of us is not here. And that's not good. That's really not good.
Which Sportsnet or Hockey Night in Canada personality would you like to roast the most?
Oh,
it's probably us.
There's no. There's a long list. I think Amber would be up there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was not expecting Amber. Wow. Is it just because he went to the Super Bowl? Is that it?
No, it's got nothing to do with that. Like, he's a great guy. It's just that you can really get under his skin.
All right, well, let's find a hall and let's organize it up. It's for charity.
Frege enjoys that.
I'll nominate Amber for it himself. And one other thing about the Sedins last night, Frege.
Yeah.
It's so funny to see how many people gathered for that moment, considering how messy Canucks history has been.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, it was just really interesting to see.
You know, I thought the exact same thing, Sid, and I think that more than anything else shows the respect that was towards them and the way people feel about them as individuals and twins, I guess. But, you know, you look there and you saw Brian Burke sitting next to Dave Nonis, sitting next to Mike Gillis. You know, Trevor Linden was there, Jim Benning was there. There's a very complicated history and thread that connects all of those people. And, you know, I asked Berkey about it in the first intermission of the game last night, and I asked it in a nice way, and he said, Elliotte, you're being too polite. But that's what you do with these things. And I agree with you. I think, you know, hey, you guys, I think one of you guys said it earlier, you really felt the love in that building last night. You did. And I think there were a lot of people that maybe might not have felt a lot of love towards each other, but they're like, this is about Daniel and Henrik, so we're going to be there and we're going to put on the right face.
Yeah, even the fans did it with Kessler, and I thought that was awesome to see.
You know, I got to tell you something. Like, I read all of Kessler's quotes coming up in the days leading up to that, and you could tell how worried he was.
Yeah.
He had nothing to worry about. There was never a question that they were going to boo him. And, you know, you take a look at, for example, Gillis. Like, those fans, they really love Mike Gillis. You remember what it was like the night before he was fired? There was nobody in the building, and they were chanting, you know, fire Gillis, and they ran him out of town. Like, there's no question about that. But, you know, the Canuck hockey fans have a way. Yeah, maybe we get mad at you in the moment, but you're still always one of us. And Kessler, you know, he fought hard for the Canucks. He played hard for the Canucks. Maybe the divorce was not as clean as you'd like it to be, but that's over with now. He's a Canuck, and he was a key Canuck in their best team, in their best run in franchise history. And that's the way they choose to look at him. And I never had any concern that he was going to get anything but that reception.
All right, Zdeno Chara's reception in Montreal the next time he shows up might not be as nice. A lot of people, we sent out a tweet earlier today, and there was a lot of reaction. Are you surprised that it's only a $5,000 fine for the cross-check, what ended up in the throat of Brendan Gallagher?
No, I thought it should have been handled better on the ice. I heard you guys talking about it before. You know, as you guys said, there's no way that should have been coincidental minors. And maybe it should have been, he should have gotten more of a penalty, whether he got 4 and Gallagher got 2, or he got 4 and Gallagher got none, or he got 5 and got tossed from the game. You know, last night during the broadcast, I said I didn't think that was going to be a suspension, and Colby strongly disagreed with me. And I had a lot of people who actually disagreed with me, a lot more than for the normal stupid stuff I say. And, you know, a lot of people didn't like that. Fans didn't like that. People in the league, like other teams, they didn't like that. They thought it was wrong. But the way I look at what gets suspended and what doesn't get suspended in the NHL, if you really look at things and you look for history, you know, the NHL's collected a 20-year database of here's who gets suspended for what and why, okay? And there just aren't suspensions for that. Now, I saw Leaf fans saying that what happened with Kadri and DeBrusk was not as bad as that. That's not true. Like, the Kadri thing was worse than that. Not that this was good, but it was worse than that. Like, I mean, they were standing next to each other. Kadri took a run at DeBrusk. I am not surprised it didn't get a suspension, but I know a lot of people, and I recognize a lot of people disagree that it wasn't one.
Elliotte Friedman here on Tim and Sid. Anything else on that, Tim? Because that's what's got everyone talking today. We good? Trade deadline is a week Monday.
We good.
FYI, Friedge. Clear that Monday.
Just so you know.
Trade deadline is coming up.
Just want to make sure.
I don't know if the email's been sent, but they need you. Connor McDavid out 2 to 3 weeks. If you're Ken Holland, what are you thinking right now?
I'm not deviating from my plan.
Okay.
I'm not. Maybe, excuse me, guys, maybe you go for a rental if it's an inexpensive rental. I think Edmonton has made it very clear they don't want to trade their first-round pick. They really would prefer not to deal Puljujarvi for a rental. I mean, maybe they would, but I don't think they want to. They don't want to give away their top young prospects. They really aren't interested in doing that. The difference is Pittsburgh, they're good enough to win every year, and that's the way they look at it. And I think if Edmonton continues to trend this way, I think they could get there. But A, there's no guarantee you're making the playoffs right now, so you're going to be careful with that first-round pick, even though I think they will. And secondly, I just think that Ken Holland sees them as still a growing team. And one of the things I think that gets Canadian GMs in trouble, and Peter Chiarelli was one of them, is you come in with this plan and something happens and there's this groundswell, whether it's your fan base or social media or whatever, to deviate from the plan. And that's where you get into trouble.
Yeah.
And I think Ken Holland sits there and says, I've got a plan. This team is improving. I'm not varying from what I want to do. And the best deadline acquisition you're going to get is Connor McDavid.
Elliotte Friedman joining us here on Tim and Sid. One last one. We only got about a minute and a half left here, so I'll wrap 2 and 1. Who is more likely to make a deal? An inconsistent Flames team or a Maple Leafs team that has some cap space due to injury?
I would say Toronto. I think one of the reasons is I don't think Calgary has a good handle on what it is right now.
Yeah.
I think they're concerned, and I don't think you sell off major pieces now. I think Toronto, they're still waiting to get an answer on where Riley is and what his timeline is, but I do think Toronto adds something.
It feels like a waiting game could be tough given the injuries that are rolling in the NHL right now. Like, I feel like...
Oh.
But if they get news on Morgan Riley tomorrow that isn't good,
Yeah.
it's game on, right?
That changes everything.
Yeah, right.
And you know what, Tim? On your point about the injuries, I'm really looking at this All-Star break, and I'm wondering if it's the problem. You're going hard. You shut it down.
Yeah.
I got no problem with people getting rest.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you got to ramp it right back up again. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
for the
tough
older
for me
guys.
when I get off the couch. Like, I can't imagine these guys.
Right. Understood.
And some of those teams had basically buys going into the All-Star.
Right. No, it's like
Yes.
a week. Some of them 10 days. Yep.
It was a long break. Elliotte Friedman, hockey insider and roast master general, joining us here on Tim and Sid.